Christy, you want to say hi?
Hey, hi guys. How's it going? I'm Christy.
We are here doing this thing called Project Celebrating Singles because it's something where we recognize in the culture, in the world around us, that singles are not celebrated, right? Christy, can you talk a little bit into that real quick?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being 36, I have gone to my fair share of like bachelorette parties, weddings, baby showers, right? And I just started to realize, I was like, wow, like the further on you get in life, like if you don't get married, there are like less and less ways to like celebrate and celebrate life. And
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that like your life is worth celebrating whether you get married or not, whether you have biological children or not. And so I'm just really
Yes.
passionate about other singles being celebrated and other people knowing that they have like inherent value regardless of their marital status. This
Yeah.
is important for singles who have never been married, but also for singles who are single again. You know, no one
Hmm.
really at that point like chooses to be single again, right? It's either, cause of divorce or separation or potentially being widowed, in different really painful experiences. And so I just am really passionate about people experiencing singleness in a really beautiful way that should be celebrated.
Yes, that's so good. And so we want to welcome everyone here. This could, like you said, this can be for people who maybe haven't dated in years. Maybe you've dated a lot, but it hasn't been really successful in landing a long-term partner, or just even people who maybe have been divorced or widowed for whatever reason that is, or even for parents, who have single children. And I think about my own life here. I'm the youngest in my family. Everyone's married now. They're all having babies, doing the thing. And then here I come rolling up at Christmas time. And the first thing that my parents will say, oh, we're just waiting for Catherine's Mr. Right, And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why is this the conversation at the dinner table? And why is this spotlight on me, as if like I'm not as valuable because I'm not married yet, don't have a partner, all that. And so we just want to break those stigmas and we want to come empower people. And I like what you said, Christy, about it being a journey, right? Because the reality is sometimes finding contentment and joy in being single can be really difficult. And I'd love it actually. Can you share a little bit about your story? And like, obviously, that is why we are here because we're passionately like involved in this in our own lives of like, wow, there's been ways where we've been taken for granted and looked down negatively because of just being single. And so, can you share a little bit about your story and what led you on this journey and to now getting to here in this place where you want to help empower other people?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm 36 and I've never been married. And for years though, I was really not happy in singleness. And I mean, I went through different stages, depression, bitterness, resentment, and then, in other ways, like really grabbing the steering wheel tight of like dating, like I'm gonna make this happen. And it was not happening. Like it just was not. And I was generally like pretty healthy from like a mental health standpoint. And so, you go through all the questions of like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm physically
Mm-hmm.
fit. I have a growing professional career that is like honestly, like well beyond what I ever anticipated or expected, which is really exciting. And obviously a huge part of my life because I have the capacity for it. And yet I started to realize like, even though like professionally, physically, emotionally, all these things were in place, I still didn't feel like as valuable, and I felt rejected, and was experiencing all these things. And so through honestly just a lot of self-discovery, a lot of journeying through this, I now experience singleness completely differently than I did 10 years ago, and even completely differently than I did 5 years ago. And living in San Francisco, being single is completely different than living in Texas, being single. Now I live in Hawaii, being single here, completely different than past seasons. And so I'm just super passionate about taking people on a journey of health and experiencing singleness in a really healthy way, but also helping married people to like break the stigmas off. Like I had to have some hard conversations along the way with certain friends who all they wanted to do was set me up. And I'm like, can we just like go for a walk
Mm,
and chat about life? It seems like every time I hang out with you and your
right.
husband, you're constantly trying to set me up with one of your husband's friends. And I'm like, can we just like enjoy life as like three people and like not be uncomfortable that you're married and I'm not? Like, can we have that conversation? And as I started having this conversation with friends and with family members and started helping people get good at small talk that's not about your marital status, or your children, right? Like so many people, that's like literally consumes their life. And so that's what they're really passionate about. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm not against marriage like at all. And I'm definitely not against like biological
Mm,
children. All of those things are a desire of mine. But what I started to realize is we're just like really not good at small talk. So, but that can be really hurtful to singles,
mm,
especially during the holiday season and different things like that. So I'm like pretty pumped because we have a lineup of amazing people who also happen to be single.
That's right.
So we are going to break down every
Mhm.
lie that something's wrong with you, that you're left out, you're rejected, like you're on the JV squad, whatever it is that, like, honestly, like movies, books, music, everything from a very early age touts like you've made it in life once you have this
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
broken human who approves of you. And it's like, wait a minute, like this is not
Right.
actually like a good thing for any of us subconsciously to believe. And yet, like a lot of our subconscious thought patterns are attached to that. And so we're going to take people on a journey also to uncover those unhealthy, like subconscious thought patterns that are definitely attributing to either unhealth in singleness or a discontentment in singleness. So we're going to address those, go full send. We're going to have some raw
Mhm.
conversations. We're going to have some important conversations that I'm pretty pumped about. And we have an amazing lineup of people.
I think for some of us, perhaps in our single journey, maybe we can't even necessarily recognize reasons, maybe why we're going to lots of partners, or maybe reasons why we haven't dated in years. And so I love it that you're sharing that we're going to help people discover maybe the deeper underlying reasons behind, like, oh, I actually do feel less valuable if I'm single, or I do feel rejected, or different things that might be coming up. And so it really is a journey that we get to go on together. And I'm just really excited to showcase all these different people, like you said, too, because it doesn't mean that we're perfect by any means. And we're just regular people navigating through this life together, right? But I think we've come to realize, oh, there's actually so much beauty in this time. And I love that you strictly said also that we are not against marriage by any means. No, like we love and we value marriage so much, and children, absolutely. And I think the more work that we actually do now in coming to just enjoy this time of life that we have, and even going deeper, maybe turning a little bit of pain into purpose, because sometimes this stuff, dealing with rejection, different lenses that we might be viewing ourselves, a lot of that comes from, upbringing with mom and dad, family, culture, different things that we need to begin to address. And it could be a little bit painful, right? But then actually, as we dig into it, and then the pain can actually turn to purpose. And so we really want to be able to give people tools and empowering them, and just be real with our stories too, like, man, doesn't mean that we have the greatest days all the time. I'm slamming popcorn some evenings, doing the thing, embracing whatever the day may be. I'm like, okay, wow, I think I need a bag of popcorn tonight. That's what I need. And so it's not like we're like these perfect,
So
amazing
real.
humans who are doing the thing. And also, too, I didn't share my age. I'm 29. I got some little wrinkles coming on my face now. Looks like I could maybe still be 22. I don't know, 23. And so we got some history under our belt. We got older people. We got younger people all coming to showcase the thing. I think at the end of the day, though, I'm like so grieved that every conversation I have with my friends these days, whether from the age of like 25 to 35, it always just ends. It always goes to romantic love, literally every single conversation. And I think about these women that I know specifically who, like, you just see that they want love so badly, but they desire that approval, and like you're saying, really that our value is only found when we have a partner. And that grieves me because I think I see people honestly kind of wasting their lives in doing things and like putting way too much effort into this one area that is all consuming, when actually the world is beautiful that's around them. And so we want to empower people, and a huge desire with us on this podcast is like, okay, we want people to know that they can make an impact with their sphere of
So
influence, with their
good.
passions, with their hobbies, different things like that. And so, Christy, can you talk even a little bit about that in your own life, like what impact has looked like while you've been able to be single for an extended amount of time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say like 7 years ago, I was living in Texas and I was on like my second round of friends. Like, first round of friends got married, so I kind of found some new friends. Then the second round of friends starts getting married. I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. And it's so wild. But I like really, it was a strong desire. It was in a lot of unhealth and singleness. I had a lot of partners. I was like extremely promiscuous, just like trying to feed that need and thinking like, well, fine, I'll just like, I don't know, honestly, a bunch of lies, to be honest. Like, I'm just going to be free with this. Well, that ended up going down a terrible path, and later realized like that actually has really bad effects on your brain, really bad effects on mental health, all sorts of things that I learned later in life that I hope to be able to equip younger people with, so that they can hopefully avoid some of those mistakes. But what it ended up being was this kind of this moment where I got this new job that was going to take me to San Francisco. And I had this moment where I was like, well, wait a minute, like, if I'm gonna like entertain any of these relationships that were potentials at the time, and I moved to California, then I'm like foregoing getting married probably for at least another year or two, right? I'm gonna have to completely rebuild my computer, community, completely rebuild like friendships. And I just had this moment where I was like, well, F it. Like, why not? Like, why not make the move? I am single. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I was 30 at the time. I was like, I am single. Like, why wouldn't I do this right now? And oh my gosh, I'm so thankful, because to answer your question, what ended up unfolding is I ended up getting a dream job. I ended up starting a
Mm-hmm.
global nonprofit that is had about 40 nations involved with it now. And I'm not Mother Teresa, but I do kind of like look to that a little bit of like, wait, what if Mother Teresa like would have settled for like the white picket fence and like the house and the, you know, 2.5 children or whatever? Not to say, sorry, I love all of you who might have that life,
Yes.
but like there are different lives to be had. And I now realize, like, if I would have gotten married earlier in life, there was a bunch of purpose in my life that was meant to be had, that I actually am now really, really thankful that I've had extended singleness. And that doesn't take away necessarily that I might get married in the future and I might have a different capacity. But I like to think, like, why not live life to the fullest, right? Don't delay buying the house until you get married. Don't delay making the move to a new city until you get married. Don't delay buying yourself a nice ring, you know,
Mm.
or buying, you know, I don't know, for men, we're gonna get some guy friends on here, by the way. It's not just gonna be Katherine and
That's
I.
right.
So just so you know, guys, we have some people coming in hot. Get ready, they're gonna be fun. But all that to say, I think I am really eager and excited to have single people take out these unhealthy thought patterns and whatever is kind of hindering them. I mean, I had amazing friends in Silicon Valley that are literally top of their professional careers. I mean, people who are surgeons at Stanford, people who are executives and directors inside of big tech. And yet you talk to them and they're like so unhappy because they're not married. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're changing nations. Like, people come from other nations to come get surgery from you. Why are you so depressed about being single? Like, I just was like, wait a minute, something is wrong here. And I
Right.
believe it has a lot to do with our culture and a lot to do, like, with the fact that we don't celebrate singleness. And so here we are. So
Mm-hmm. That's
sorry, I
so
get
good.
very
I love
excited
it.
about this.
Yes, come on. You're passionate. I'm here for it. We're here for it. That is so good.
Just to like set some expectations, I think the goal is to be raw. The goal is to be vulnerable. The goal is to share the amazing parts of singleness and the really hard parts. We hope to leave no stone
Mm.
unturned. We're going to talk about, you know, the sucky Friday nights alone. We're going to talk about that, you know, 15th wedding of the year that you went to by yourself. We're going to talk about
Yes.
the no sex part of singleness, or the, you know, interesting parts of that part of your life. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. And I just want to give people an expectation. Like, we hope to encourage you. We hope to give you some tools to experience singleness in a more positive light. And we hope to also build community. So we can't do this alone. So I just want to make that call out
That's
right
right.
now that, like, so we already have a group of friends that have kind of agreed to that this should be like, we're going to take on this mission to really
Mm-hmm.
change the culture and how we experience singleness, right? Breaking off shame, breaking off the stigma that we're less than, or it's bad to be single and later in life. And we're going to go on that journey together, and we need your help. So if you're listening and like, you're like, man, I've never heard these types of conversations before, like, I really want to get involved, contact us. Like, we're so excited to hear from you. We know, like, it's going to take a village to go ahead and just tackle this, right? Like, even I'm thinking about, I've had some of these conversations with parents of adult singles. So people who are
Mm.
either single for no apparent reason, but other people who are single based on, you know, potentially like being differently abled. Like, I had, you know, someone come up to me after one of these talks one time, and his daughter is paraplegic. And he's like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't realize a lot of the things that I'm doing are, you know, subconsciously or inadvertently affecting her and her experience of singleness. And, you know,
Wow.
there's potentially a strong chance that she might not ever get married. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it literally like broke my heart. I'm like, whoa, this topic is so, so important, even for married people, so that we can set our children up for like success. So they're not like literally just like, you know, getting in all sorts of unhealthy relationships and in high school or in college and different things. And then equally, you know, ending up in like maybe some bad marriages and really just not experiencing the fullness of life. And so I am just wanting you to know, we're going to need a community. We're going to need a village to go on this journey together. And so we're calling it Project Celebrating Singles. Even the name, we're not fully on board with. I mean, we can talk about that really quick.
Totally.
I know we were trying to
Yes.
wrap up, but I'm like, okay, wait, celebrating single is kind of cringy, but I
Super
felt like that's what
cringy.
we were supposed to call it. Super cringy. But I felt like that's what we were supposed to call it. And I feel like it's just like a blow. Like we're going to take
Yes.
this sledgehammer
Come
to
on.
the shame that's associated with singleness. I'm so done with it.
Hmm.
I'm like, I
Hmm.
have an amazing life. I live in Hawaii. I get to work both a for-profit company that I'm starting as well as a nonprofit. I have an amazing family. I have an amazing group of friends all over the world right now that I'm just like, I'm so blessed. But culture says that like I should be married with like 2.5 kids. And I'm done. I'm like, no, we are going to go after this. And I'm really excited.
So good. I love it. Yes. So if that's you listening today, we just want to encourage you, you are not alone in being single, and we're ready to get this community rocking and rolling. We're ready to see people empowered. And yeah, I think a lot of times there might be like that one person in the friend group who hasn't been married yet and they feel so excluded and left out. But man, there are so many of us who are actually just embracing this time of life we have. And we want to rally all the troops together, like you said. And so if that's you, you're listening, you're watching today, we want to just encourage you, check out Celebrating Singles. We're on Instagram, and you can also find us celebratingsingles.com, where we're going to have some content up there for you to check out. And we are going to see what kind of journey we're going to go on together.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So we just want to thank you so much for coming, and